a question I always get, people ask me it a lot, is when I select a screen for my theater, what aspect ratio is the correct one for me, right? And that I know that is like a super broad, almost ambiguous question, but between the two different typically found aspect ratios, which are like Cinemascope, which is 2.4-ish to 1, and 16 by 9 or 1.78, what are the pros and cons, and why would you go with one versus the other? So that question gets asked a lot, and I'm curious from your point of view, being immersed in this for years and years, how do you help people make that decision?
Sometimes the decision isn't already made for you. The room might vote for one versus the other. In the case of like a normal 16:9 screen, maybe you've got a width constraint. You got taller ceilings, but for some reason you're limited by its width.
Sure.
Bookcases, who knows? Um, but pretty quickly we qualify people into the 16:9 world if they're the type that really like to set it and forget it. My brother's the type that he never wants to touch anything but the on button, and that's it. So this is one where it matches your projector, you get things settled, and you're done. If you watch a lot of TV or sports, it's better for single row situations because it is tall, so you don't have any sightline issues. You don't have anybody behind you trying to, have the Mystery Science Theater 3000
Oh, sure.
silhouettes,
Yeah, yeah.
at the bottom. It They do start voting for being acoustically transparent more quickly because the taller the screen, the question is where are you going to put your center speaker? And if your answer is on the floor, then that's a problem.
That's the wrong answer.
That's the wrong answer, especially with multiple rows. Floor-mounted center speakers and multiple rows are a tragic combination.
Yeah, so I actually, a few months ago now, moved from a almost on the floor center channel speaker to, an in wall behind screen speaker. And the upgrade was significant. It made a really big difference, especially when I was reclined all the way back and my feet were kicked up and, you know, it wasn't my feet that was was listening anymore. The sound could actually make it to my head. So yeah, it really anchored the image up, into the visual area as opposed to feeling really low. So yeah, it's a big deal.
And even though they say, you can aim it up. Well, that's not the only thing. There's boundary effects, there's localization and imaging where it's from. We'll get into that a bit more, but these 16:9 screens being tall, center channel quickly becomes a problem. If we instead are watching a bunch of movies, you got a real film buff. About 70% of films are filmed in Cinemascope ratio. So that's why when you rewatch, the Harry Potters, Lord of the Rings, you're going to get letterboxes on the black bars on the top of your and bottom of your screen or TV. And so when somebody says they don't watch as much TV and sports on this screen, they're going to watch film on it. That would be a vote for scope. If you don't have a width constraint, maybe you have a height constraint. You've got a duct above, or a soffit,
Right.
or
Yep.
8-foot basement ceilings, something that's constraining your height. Or maybe from the bottom up, you want to put 3 identical speakers below it that, not an acoustically transparent screen, but, 3 bookshelves, 3 little short tower speakers. Those work very well as long as your screen isn't too tall. And so that could be a vote for going super wide. It's a bit of a tweaky combination because you're always going to be zooming, shifting, focusing. I would recommend lens memory. And so this is not the set it and forget it type. This is for the type that don't mind, a couple minutes of getting everything right for tonight's film.
Right on. And I mean, if you wanted to go fancy, you can always get a video processor that'll do auto scaling for you, right?
That is
And
true.
and then keep it zoomed in all the time, I guess, if you're going that route, or you can go with a lens,
Hmm.
right? And then the scaler really becomes impactful there.
Yeah, there's a lot of very complicated ways to solve this problem. You can even automate them to make them simple because, frankly speaking, the Hollywood A-list clients, they usually have these shape screens, but they're not reaching up to their projector and, adjusting things. There's a button on a pad and they hit it and everything changes. So there's ways to do that, but if you that can get pricey.
But ever so wonderful.
It's great for multiple rows. So if you do have that second row, the third row, the 26th row, the sightline issues are much easier to handle.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Now, of course, just because I'm a jerk, I put this Christopher Nolan. He makes his screens with these variable aspect ratio
Oh yeah,
formats.
it jumps around all the time. You'll be watching, you're like, this is great, and then bam, you're like, oh, what just happened here?
Right. So
Or you watch something like the Snyderverse, and it's all in 4:3 or something.
Yeah, so that I'm gonna add that in the future.
Yeah, I mean that's even
because that's going to be even worse. It's going to be like here.
It's like that's like the old television aspect ratio.
It is, and that would be a vote for going for taller screens. But
yeah,
aspect ratios are not going to settle out. In fact, they're diverging. I love Snyder for going to 4:3. I wish the IMAX stuff like Dunkirk. I wish that was in its full it's about a 1.4 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love the Tarantinos for going all the way out to what's the Hateful Eight? Was it like 2.7? I think.
Oh, it was super wide.
Yeah. But I do enjoy a little bit of paying these Cinemascope folks when they see their Chris Nolan films throttled down to a tiny Cinemascope image within their bigger Cinemascope image. So
you're so mean.
Yeah, I
love it.
Well, it's because we sell solutions, so we like to make fun of people first, and then help them out.
Right on. I like it.
One such solution is the constant area screen. This is the apex predator of all screens. This is the screen to rule them all. What we do is we start with a shape that's somewhere in between Cinemascope and 16:9. So
okay.
Nothing will ever fit it. Actually, there is some stuff that's around that 2:0 ratio. We call that the Netflix ratio because that's the widest that Netflix will allow their content producers to make things like House of Cards.
Really?
Before you then have to go get special permission from the big cheese.
I had no idea. I did not know that was a restriction. So I need to make sure that I'm not any wider than that. But I'm 16:9, so I'm good. So Netflix, if you want to pick up this as a recurring show, just let me know.
There you go.
I'm down.
And so if you had a 16:9 screen and you could mask a little bit of the top bottom, you're going to have small letterbox bars, but nothing like the Hateful Eight type bars. But a constant area screen, depending on how sophisticated it is, can sweep all the way from this 4:3 ratio. So I am showing the Snyderverse here. We go out to the blue, that's a 16:9. We'll go out to this peach colored, that would be standard Cinemascope. And then if we throttle all the way down to this black set of bars, that would be the crazy wide stuff, like the Cinerama stuff, the Hateful Eight,
Right.
Sleeping Beauty. There's about a dozen films that are wider than 2:4.
Yeah, that's wow. So now if you go for this constant area screen, the magic there is going to be masking, right?
Yes. So if we go back a couple slides, the 16:9, the width stays the same. Your top and bottom changes. So we call that constant width. In this Cinemascope ratio screen, it's called constant height. So the height stays the same.
Right.
Maybe
and then you do this.
it
And then
sounds
the
about like
first one
that.
is like
And if you're lucky enough to have those side masks, then yeah, those come in from the side. With the constant area screen, you're probably talking 4 masks.
so it goes I can't do 4 masks.
Hey, come on. Do you have like a chorus button you could hit? You just hit that.
Can't do it.
Careful there, you might pull something.
Too late.
We've had people solve these with varying ways, but this is the most complicated. But the magic, the result that you get from this is that when you're done, You don't care what shape anything is. It's all immersive and big and great and wonderful because it's all constant area.
That's kind of cool. I don't off the top of my head know of anyone that's running constant area, but I'm doing constant height right now, and I really enjoy that because my challenge in my room is that I've got 8-foot ceilings with a soffit at the top. So but I'm only one row, so it's got to come down a little bit. So 16 by 9 doesn't really work well for me, but making it super wide and dropping an A lens with a little bit of horizontal expansion, it's all
Oh
good
yeah,
for me.
yeah, you're talking.
Yep. Cool. So I guess the answer then as to whether you want to go 16 by 9 or go a scope screen, one, what does the room tell you that you have to do, right? How many rows do you have? And what kind of content are you going to be watching? And if you kind of mash all those together, something's going to spit out. And then if you just have a lot of money, you say, screw it, I'm going constant area and I need a 4-way masking screen.